dear students, myself Gangadhar Solanke, and I welcome you all to the MC James virtual classroom. My dear students, today in Standard 9th History, we'll be learning the topic Changing Life Part 2. Now we're having two lessons of the same heading, Changing Life Part 1 and Changing Life Part 2. In the Changing Life Part 1, we people learnt about the importance of the constitution and the work of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, which he brought it about through the medium of the Indian constitution, then the institution of the family, scheduled castes and tribes, public health, kidney transplant, test tube baby immunization, then urbanization, rural area, post-independence period, changing economic life, rural development, social needs and facilities, rural electrification, and the last point of that topic was industrial development. So in that topic, we people discussed about how these changes or the development in each and every field changed Indian society or changed our life. Now in this chapter, we shall look at the changes that have taken place in the fields of language, sports, theatre and films, newspapers and television. Now all these things are now the part of our life, or we are directly or indirectly connected with all these things. It may be sports, or it may be language, or it may be theatre and films, because we people continuously watching movies or dramas in theatre, newspaper and television, both the things which are very important in our life because it gives us the entertainment, also information and the news of the world or news of the country. So all these things are very important in our life, and in this chapter particularly we are going to talk about the change in our life because of all these things. So the first point is language. You people already studied in standard 8th history that the formation of states in our country are based on the language. Number of people are there in our country, and in the different region different languages are there. Not only languages but the dialects of these languages are also there. For example, in Maharashtra we are having Marathi, but if you people go in Marathwada, then there is the different dialect of Marathi. Then next to that Airani is there, Konkani is there. So these are nothing but the dialects of the Marathi language. So number of languages are there, and these languages are in the different regions of the country. On the map you can see Gujarati, Hindi, Marathi, Telugu, Tamil, Assamia. But if we people talk about the official languages in India, then on the screen you can see Hindi, Assamese, Bengali, Gujarati, Kannada, Kashmiri, Malayalam, Marathi, Odia, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Tamil, Telugu, Urdu, Konkani, Manipuri, Nepali and Sindhi are the official languages in India. These Indian languages also have dialects. डायलेक्ट्स मीन्स एक भाषा के अलग अलग बोले जाने वाले तरीके जो होते हैं, कि भाषा सेम है लेकिन अलग तरीके से बोली जाती है. फॉर एग्जांपल मराठी ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज हो गई, बट ईरानी में अलग मराठी बोली जाती है. फिर विदर्भ में जाओगे तो वहाँ पे अलग मराठी बोली जाती है. इन मुंबई इट इज़ ऑल्सो काइंड ऑफ डिफरेंट डायलेक्ट. सो these Indian languages also have dialects, but their number is now on the decline, and number of reasons are there for this, क्योंकि continuously children are going in the Hindi or in English school. That's why people are also migrating from rural area to urban area for the search of employment, and that is why वो जिस शहर में जा रहे हैं वहाँ की लैंग्वेज के साथ मिक्स हो रहे हैं, एंड दैट इज वाई द नंबर ऑफ द डायलेक्ट्स इज नाउ ऑन द डिक्लाइन. टाइमली स्टेप्स शुड बी टेकन टू नर्चर देम, otherwise we will lose an important part of our heritage. These languages are nothing but the cultural heritage of our country, cultural heritage of the generations, cultural heritage of that particular region, and that's why it is very important to think about these languages. Nevertheless, Hindi, which has reached everywhere through the medium of Hindi movies, has served to unite the country by language. Now, the movies in Hindi are very famous in the world, and everywhere in the world लोग हिंदी मूवीज़ देखते हैं, हिंदी मूवीज़ देखना पसंद करते हैं, and because of that Hindi has reached everywhere through the medium of Hindi movies. The English language has been gaining ground in India due to the process of globalization. Due to the globalization, the boundaries of the nations, जिन्हें हम कह सकते हैं कि वो बाउंड्रीज जो है वो सिर्फ पेपर पे रह गई है, लेकिन एक देश से दूसरी देश में जाना, एक देश का दूसरी देश के साथ व्यापार होना, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट कल्चरल हेरिटेज भी एक्सचेंज हो रहा है, सो लैंग्वेज भी उसमें एक्सचेंज हो गई. सो द इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज हैज़ बीन गेनिंग ग्राउंड इन इंडिया ड्यू टू द प्रोसेस ऑफ ग्लोबलाइजेशन विच बिगेन आफ्टर 1990. English is becoming the language of livelihood, and as it opens the doors to multiple job opportunities. Nowadays it is very important for us to know English, to speak in English, to write English, to get opportunities in the market or to get job. So moreover, Indians are at the forefront in learning English. However, it is necessary to ensure that this process does not endanger the very existence of regional languages. So regional languages are very important because these languages are not only the languages, but this is what is our cultural heritage, and it is our duty as a citizen of India to preserve or to take care of this heritage. On the screen now you can see a list of the languages of Nagaland in 1961 and the numbers of people using them. So in the Nagaland only you can see the number of languages: Angami, Lotha, Rengama, Kheza, Sangatam, Chang, Imchungar, Jeliangsemi, Kukichiru, Tikir, Sema, Iwo, then this is Chaksing, Sangtam, Pochuri, Konayak, Foam, this one is Khaminangam, Liangamai and Makuri. Here if you people go through this number, then only 769 people speak this language Makuri. So the consequences of this variety was that Kohima radio station had to make its broadcasts in 25 languages, which included English, Hindi, Naga dialects and 16 Naga languages. And this is very important to do all the cultural programs in the regional languages to save our cultural heritage. So language play a very important role in our personality development, and also it is the cultural heritage of the particular region or of the state or of the country. Next point, sports. During the pre-independence period, only a few selected games were known to people in general. If we people talk about pre-independence period, today we are having number of sports, but at that time there were no sports like cricket or badminton. अगर होंगे भी तो उतने नहीं होंगे जितने आज खेले जाते हैं, जिसके बारे में आज जितना बोला जाता है. सो ओनली अ फ्यू सेलेक्टेड गेम्स वर नोन टू पीपल इन जनरल. वो भी लोकल गेम्स हुआ करते थे. बट सम स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन्स चेंज्ड दिस सिचुएशन एंड दिस इन्हांस्ड द status of both the sports and the sports persons. Whenever any sports person wins any match, then it is in the news, and because of that people attracted towards that news, or people talk about that news, and that is beneficial for both the sports and the sports person. For example, Geet Sethi, achieved global excellence in snooker. Global excellence in snooker, a variation of billiards. On the screen you can see. He won the national championship of billiards for teenagers at the age of 15, and later he went on to win national and international championships at the global level. He won the amateur billiards competition thrice, 3 बार, and the professional one 5 times. So because of this he was continuously in the news, और इनके न्यूज़ में होने की वजह से ये जो स्पोर्ट्स है वो भी न्यूज़ में आया स्नूकर, और लोग इस खेल की तरफ अट्रैक्ट हुए, लोगों ने इस खेल के बारे में पढ़ना शुरू किया एंड स्टार्टेड प्लेइंग द स्नूकर. On the screen you can see the news cutting also. Keith Setti bagged the Fred Davis Award as the Billiards Player of the Year 1998-99. Then the next point. So at the global level he won the many competitions, and his success made the game popular, and newspapers began to report news about billiards. Thus he made a new field available to rising sport persons in India. And then the very famous sports in India, especially cricket. It was in 1983 that the Indian team won the World Cup for cricket under the captaincy of Kapil Dev. It was a historic victory. And then cricket became very popular in our country. Cricket instantly won great popularity across the country. In the same year, Sunil Gavaskar broke the earlier record of maximum centuries in the Test cricket. In 1985, India won the Benson and Hedges World Championship of Cricket, and as a result, cricket came to be played in all states to a lesser or greater extent. कहीं पर कम खेला जा रहा था, कहीं पर ज़्यादा खेल रहा था, but it was started in all states, but at the cost of indigenous Indian games, and also because of the live telecast of cricket matches. लोग क्रिकेट कंटिन्यूसली देख रहे थे, उनका इंटरेस्ट बढ़ रहा था, और फिर हर कोने में देश के क्रिकेट खेलना स्टार्ट हुआ. Then a few movies were also produced around the theme of cricket. Live telecast of the full 5 days or 1 day of the matches also became available, and which made cricket very famous in our country, and the many people attracted towards these sports. Then we know about the Sachin Tendulkar and then Saurav Ganguly and now MS Dhoni and then Virat Kohli. ये तो हम उस वक्त का पढ़ रहे जब सुनील गावस्कर और कपिल देव ने इस खेल को फेमस किया, लेकिन अभी भी बहुत सारे क्रिकेटर्स ऐसे हैं, इसमें आप और नाम जोड़ सकते हैं जो आपके फेमस प्लेयर हैं. नॉट ओनली क्रिकेट और बिलियर्ड्स, बट इंडिया हैड बीन पार्टिसिपेटिंग इन Asiad and Olympic Games. It is very important to participate in the Olympic Games for any country. At the Olympics of year 2000, Karnam Malleshwari won a medal for weightlifting. She was the first Indian woman. To win a medal at Olympics. So obviously again the same thing happened. Weightlifting became famous in our country, weightlifting in the news, and that's why many sport person again attracted or started doing their practice in weightlifting. India's representation began to rise in various Olympic games such as hockey, badminton, tennis, swimming, weightlifting and archery. Now with the help of internet, you people can find out the names of the players or the achievements of our country in these particular sports, like in hockey, in badminton. Hockey में हमने कब क्या जीता, कौन थे अच्छे प्लेयर. Then in badminton, which medal by which sports person. Then in tennis, swimming में कौन है जो इंडिया की तरफ से बहुत अच्छा से खेलता है. Then कर्णम मल्लेश्वरी के बाद स्विमिंग में किसने अच्छे तरीके से इंडिया का नाम रोशन किया और खुद का भी. And then archery. So all these are the things which you can find on the net. Next one now, theater and films. We can say that this is the part of our life now because we all are having television, and due to television we are now used to with the films and the dramas or the serials. So theater and films are important aspects of Indian life. Early plays were very long, sometimes running through an entire night. But now this is not the situation. Films were for 3 hours, फिर वो 2 घंटे की हो गई और अब तो 1.5 घंटे तक की भी फिल्म्स होती है. Now the form, technique and duration of plays have all changed. But musicals have now declined in importance, and political and social subjects have replaced the earlier mythological and historical themes. So mythological and historical themes were there at the center of the theater, at the center of the drama, but now the subjects are changing with the change in atmosphere or change in circumstances or the situations changing around us. लेकिन पहले ये जो म्यूजिकल ड्रामास थे वो बहुत फेमस थे और वो रात भर चलते थे. अभी ऐसा नहीं है, एक टाइम फिक्स है फिल्म्स का भी और ड्रामा का भी. The age of black and white movies has been succeeded by the age of colored movies, and this changed our life totally, or we can say that this thing filled color in our life also. In the field of entertainment, the place of Hindi movies is incomparable. Regional movies are also there, but the Hindi movies, we can think or imagine our life without these movies, because nowadays these things are becoming part of our life. Now movies reflect contemporary themes. Film shooting locals have moved abroad, and so viewers can now see many different places in foreign countries. Movies in foreign languages are now translated. During the screening of English movies, a short Hindi translation now appears on the screen as subtitles, so it will be easy for the audience to understand the cinema without any hesitation or without any problem of language. And nowadays अलग अलग तरह के रीजनल मूवीज भी लोग देख रहे हैं बिकॉज ऑफ सबटाइटल्स. सो हिंदी मूवीज नाउ compete with global movies as they have reached every nook and corner of the world. We see a reflection of politics, social events, industry and technology in the movies. Movies which were 3 to 4 hours long are now of only 1 or 2 or 1.5 hours. Moreover, the concept of one screen and one cinema hall has given way to multiplexes. पहले एक ही सिनेमा हॉल हुआ करता था, अभी मॉल में अगर हम जाते हैं तो एक ही थिएटर में हमें बहुत सारी मूवीज़ देखने का मौका मिल सकता है बिकॉज ऑफ द मल्टीप्लेक्सेस. मतलब वहाँ पे अलग अलग 2 या 3 या 4 स्क्रीन होती है और एट द सेम टाइम अलग अलग मूवीज चल रही होती है. द डेज ऑफ अ मूवी रनिंग फॉर 100 वीक्स इन वन सिनेमा हॉल आर ओवर नाउ. Now one movie runs in thousands of cinema halls in India and abroad simultaneously. This development has changed the economy of movies. So production of movies has attained the status of industry. So now it is not only Bollywood but it's film industry. It is film industry. The industry now employs crores of people. The movie industry in regional languages is also thriving. In the different parts of our country or in the different regions of our country, different languages are there, different regional languages are there, and people making their movies, making their cinemas in their own language with their own subjects, and because of that the audience also increased and the employment also increased in this industry. Next point now, newspapers. Now it is not that much important to tell you the importance of newspaper because you people already know about this. The changing lifestyle has had its effect on newspapers and other mass media, and they in turn have influenced individual as well as community life. So during early post-independence period, newspapers had multiple objectives, and again the same thing I'll repeat here, that you people already learnt about the importance of newspaper in the 8th standards history, how different leaders started their own newspaper, and newspaper became mouthpiece of their thought, or to create awareness among the people, or to spread their philosophy और देयर आइडिया इन द पीपल. जो हमारी आज़ादी की लड़ाई थी वो लड़ी गई विद द हेल्प ऑफ न्यूज़पेपर. फिर हमने ये भी देखा कि डॉक्टर बाबा साहेब अम्बेडकर ने किस तरह से अपनी आइडियोलॉजी लोगों तक पहुंचाने के लिए अलग अलग न्यूज़पेपर स्टार्ट किए थे. सेम थिंग हैपन विद द महात्मा फुले ऑल्सो, एंड टुडे ऑल्सो वी आर हैविंग न्यूज़पेपर्स. टेलीविज़न आया, अलग अलग चैनल्स आए, लेकिन न्यूज़पेपर की अपनी जगह जो है वो बनी हुई है. So newspapers functioned with the following objectives. On the screen you can see: shape public opinion. Nowadays we can see the role of newspaper in creating awareness among the people about the COVID-19 pandemic. It continuously gives guidelines to the people, it continuously gives columns about this, and it creates awareness among the people. Then directed towards constructive work, not only giving news but to shape public opinion, directed towards constructive work. At times lead the latter, carry on the task of public education. Again, very important thing. It is the role or the objective of newspaper to carry on the task of public education. Then keep a watch over the government machinery by giving news related with the politics, by giving news related with the government. Continuously we are having news of COVID-19 pandemic, and because of that we can understand what exactly our government is doing for the people, or what are the lacks or the block holes in the system or in the government machinery. Next thing, earlier newspapers were thought to be the mouthpiece ऑफ द तालुका और डिस्ट्रिक्ट. अलग अलग तालुका में या फिर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में न्यूज़पेपर हुआ करते थे, वो वहाँ की लोकल न्यूज़ देते थे, एंड दैट इज़ वाई इट वाज कॉल्ड एज द माउथ पीसेस ऑफ द तालुका और डिस्ट्रिक्ट. बट नाउ दे हैव टू फेस टफ competition from the state level newspaper chains. Like film industry, it is now media industry, but on the whole newspapers are now becoming more active. Now how we can say that the newspapers are now becoming more active? Because their scope has enlarged to include raising funds for drought affected and flood affected people, then helping meritorious students from lower income groups to go for higher education, and organizing or sponsoring cultural programs. Number of quality cultural programs are there in the different parts of the country, or in the different districts, or in different talukas, sponsored by these newspaper companies or through these newspapers. Then at the time of result or after result, these newspapers started raising fund for the meritorious students which are poor or can't get education because of their poverty. And not only these, but newspapers continuously include raising funds for any social issue in the country. This is how newspapers have now become an inseparable part of our lives. Now again, this word is very important here, inseparable. हम न्यूज़पेपर्स को हमारी लाइफ से सेपरेट नहीं कर सकते. Newspapers have now become an inseparable part of our lives. And the next one, television. Television came to India during the post-independence period. पहले नहीं था. Earlier it was black and white, and now it is colored. Same thing like newspaper भी पहले black and white हुआ करते थे, then color newspaper we are having with the different special editions on the special issues. Earlier it was limited to some selected programs and fixed time slots. Gradually its scope was enlarged to include educational programs, then the news bulletins, detailed reporting of the tours of the president and prime minister. All these things we are having due to the television. घर बैठ के हम ये अलग अलग चीज़ें देख सकते हैं. Number of educational channels are there and you can take your education or you can learn through the television with the help of these educational programs. Then number of news channels are there, not only in Hindi or in English but in regional languages are also there. So during the telecast of Ramayana and Mahabharata, a majority of the people used to sit glued to the television set. You can see that in the next slide, but here 57 glorious years of successful operation Doordarshan in 1959 started with an experimental telecast in Delhi on 15th September with a small transmitted and makeshift studio. Then in 1965 regular daily transmission started as a part of All India Radio. Then began a 5 minutes news bulletin in the same year. Then Pratima Puri was the first news reader. Later Salma Sultan joined Doordarshan in 1967 and became a news anchor. In 67 Krishi Darshan was first program to telecast, commenced on 26 January 1967. Then 1976 television services was separated from radio on 1st April 1976. In 1982 Doordarshan as a national broadcaster came into existence. In 1984 Hum Log, Indian television first soap appears started on 7 July 1984, and today more than 90% of the Indian population can receive Doordarshan programs through a network of more than 1416 terrestrial transmitters. So this is what is the development in the field of television, or we can say that how it changed our life. Now on the screen, during the telecast of Ramayana and Mahabharata, a majority of the people used to sit glued to the television set, and the serials proved the popularity of this medium. Then in 1991 CNN channel showed to the entire world a live visual reporting of the Iraq war, and at this stage the world of Indian news channels changed completely because the live telecast started. Then in 1998 Star, that is Satellite Television Asia region, a private media house, entered India, and the uninteresting, monotonous and propagandist news telecast of the early period underwent a sea change. And now we are having number of news channels with the special issues or with the special things doing in the field of news. So the language, the technique of presentation, studio equipped with the latest technology, and the use of OB, that is outdoor broadcasting vans, have expanded the scope of Indian TV. And as I told you before, now it is nothing but like an industry, or it is working like industry. So channels still further and brought in transparency and variety. Now every nook and corner of the country is connected with the news channel. So you can have news of your own village or of your own city or of your own colony or of your own मोहल्ला. हमारे आजू बाजू की न्यूज़ भी कभी भी हम न्यूज़ पेपर में या फिर न्यूज़ चैनल पे देख सकते हैं. इतना चेंज जो है ये न्यूज़ चैनल्स का बढ़ गया है. So this has had a great impact on politics. In short, the whole country started changing because of the change in the field of television, change in the field of newspapers, change in the field of theatre and films, change in the field of sports, and also in the field of language. So in the history of standard 9 we have studied the history of modern India, and in 10th standard you people will study how to make use of this subject in the practical world, how to use historical knowledge in practical world. There we shall see how history can be a part of daily life and not just a thing of the past. It means that with the help of historical knowledge or by studying history, you can work everywhere or in each field about that you people will learn in the 10th standards history. Now today in the changing life part 2, we people learned about the language, sports, theater and films, newspapers and television, how these things are now inseparable part of our life and how these things changed our life.
Please subscribe the channel and press bell icon to get notifications.
So my dear ones, this is all for today. Thank you very much. Stay home, stay safe, take care.